Hi, this is Rebecca Sutton with the Resilient Women Club. You can find me on beccasutton.com. I'm here today with Irina. Is that how you say it?
Irina?
Irina Buse?
Yes, like there are so many ways to say it, but yes, that's one of them.
That's great. Irina Buse, and she's a healing practitioner, and she'll tell us more about her modality and how she helps people. But first, I'd just like to know a little bit about you. Tell me about yourself.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm so happy to be with you today. Thank you, Rebecca, for all this opportunity for me. I love speaking to women, especially. And yeah, I have a special, I have a special place in my heart for women. And my story, looking from the outside, everybody has a story, right? And depending on how you say it, could be a no story or wow story. And I think it all goes back to how you feel in your story. And because, one thing can happen if you have a fire and 200 people watching it, you're going to get 200 different stories about that fire because everybody feels different, right?
Right.
So now I'm going to give my story from the perspective of what makes it special, let's say, because that's how I felt it. Um, and I was born in Romania in Eastern Europe in the communist years, and that's a part of time and world that people over here in North America cannot really relate much to. Even my kids, they have a very hard time relating to that. And even when I describe it, it's really hard to like make you connect with that because the experience is not, relevant. We did not have TV. We had like 2 hours of TV a day, and that was black and white, and it was all politics. We were not allowed to speak up. We were not allowed to be individuals. We had to be, a mass of people. You did not have your own opinion on anything. Everybody, like initiative was not a value. Creativity was not a value. You just had to blend in and execute.
Mm.
Sometimes we would be out of power, like no electricity at all, not because
Wow.
we did not have, it's because it was more a control tool. That's one thing. And then they were saving up from any type of corner, to pay the country's debt. And which, by the way, they did, but it was huge sacrifice for everybody. You have no idea.
Oh my
Um,
God.
I I remember times when, as a kid, and you do not realize as a kid, right? Especially when everybody lives exactly the same life, you cannot compare to anybody. But I remember we had a coupon, and everybody had coupons for everything, food. You would go line up for hours many times to get your 2 slices of bread for today.
Oh my gosh.
I can tell you
Is
that
that a
everybody was in shape.
socialist? Is that a socialist economy?
Yes, that's
Okay.
what they were trying to do to build back then. But you know what? As a kid, I did not feel like I did not have enough because they were giving us a bit, but we wouldn't starve. But do not think that you would have a cake, or I mean, we would have like once in a blue moon, but everything else was luxury. And what really um, thinking back now, I realize, but I did not know back then. The biggest hurt I find is the lack of connection because we were
Mm.
closed as a country. We were not allowed to be in contact with anybody outside for
Wow.
obvious reasons, because then you know how others live and then you want it to, and then the regime is not happy because you should be and do whatever we say. So as a kid, like you grow up like this, you know nothing else. And the drawback actually of this thing is that it doesn't build your individuality. You forget that you are somebody else. You forget that you are special in your own way because they teach you how to be like everybody else, and moving out of the ranks is a bad thing.
Mm.
And you don't realize it again. Like that's the only way you know, and that's how you live.
Right.
Oh, and the other problem was that they were trying to inhibit any attempt of leaving the country. It was illegal anyway. You would get shot if you were even trying to leave the country. And a very effective tool was not to teach you other language. And Romanian is
Wow.
like bro, what? Like, who needs Romanian anyways, right? Like, you would not survive only speaking Romanian
Wow.
if you left the country. So, like, think of school. They would give us the English class, but English class was only grammar and no
Okay.
speaking. Because the moment you can speak, you can communicate. And that's an advantage. You could leave the country and speak about your life, right? And okay, all this happened. And when I was 16, actually, the revolution came, the regime fell. It was crazy, anyways, everything that happened. And now it's an open country, but nobody knows how to live the new life. Um,
Wow.
it was wild. Sorry. And I'm even thinking now that when you do not have a model, when you don't have a leader, you don't have anybody to teach you how to do this, trial and error is the rule. But this is at the country level. Imagine. And
I'm taking notes because I want to
oh,
write. I want to write up something so people understand what they're listening to. Go on.
it's
Tell,
really fascinating. I, yeah, go ahead.
no, I'd like to know how you found your purpose and
Mm.
when that happened. How, I mean, what led you out of that
Yeah, the thing is
com?
that at the age
Let,
of 25, I left Romania, came to Canada, where I actually live right now, in the province of Quebec. And this is another, odd choice because they speak French. Mind you, it didn't matter at the time because I did not know anything else but Romanian, like I told you. So it was, if you can imagine, I was here, I came on the second day, I'm in an apartment and the phone rings and I'm thinking, why should I pick up? If anything, it's going to be either English or French, and I don't speak either. So what is the point?
yeah,
I was walking in the street, and like people were like that, like fishes. They were talking, but I couldn't understand one thing. I don't know what they're saying. I have no clue. Where am I? Everything looks different. The streets, the lights, the traffic lights are different. Obviously, people speak, but I don't know what. I don't know. I don't even know where to go buy a bus ticket. I have no idea how to live here. I need to go do my papers, official papers. I have no idea how to get there and how to speak to those people, tell them what I need.
right.
That was terrifying. That was terrifying. And 10 months later, actually, I made it into an MBA program. Imagine. And that was like, wow. But I have to tell you, because you take two tests, you take the math and you take the English. English was, you don't want to know. But I was in the first 4% of all the people in the world in math. So they probably looked and they said, okay, maybe she has potential. Maybe one day she's gonna, start speaking to her. And so I got in, but just to have an idea, the first time I tried to read English, took me 10 hours to read one page. 10 hours,
Wow.
one page.
That's perseverance.
Did I have a choice? I had to survive, right?
Yeah.
I had to survive. Like, I didn't even think there was an option B. So if you don't do this, what do you do? You know? So I did this, and I did my MBA, which was excruciatingly hard because of my language. By then, like in 10 months, I could understand. But imagine, like you're competing with like people like you come in front of the class and you just speak your language and you just say what you think about the topic. For me, it was a huge exercise before in front of the mirror, trying to get out my ideas, and
Hmm.
practice. So it was really hard. I was not the last one in the program, mind you. I was okay, but the language was a huge drawback because it's not something you learn overnight.
Right.
So yeah, fast forward the moment when I like many things happened. I changed. I think my middle name is change because I changed all the time. And change has when you initiate it is amazing for you. When somebody else initiates it for you, is uprooting at so many levels.
Right.
And for me, it happened ever since I was a kid because we moved a lot as a family. I would lose my friends every second year. Um,
Mm.
like I changed, and the political regime, I changed jobs, I changed continents, I changed countries, I changed languages, I changed marital status, I changed everything, like
Right.
I, that's what I did all my life. And at some point I felt like I couldn't do it anymore. Like I felt that this was was happening to me, like somebody was doing this to me. I felt like a victim of life.
Mm.
And now look at this. This is, when like your world falls apart inside, and on the outside nobody understands what's wrong with you.
Right.
I had a
Right.
house, I had two cars, a husband, two beautiful kids, and I wanted to go crazy. I couldn't do it anymore. And I specifically remember the moment when I was home with my son. He was 7 months old. I was walking him around the house. Cute baby, like again, I had everything right from the outside. And I was crying and screaming at the walls. I cannot do this anymore. I cannot do this anymore. And I really want to say something to everybody, listening today, because we all have those moments, and we all feel very lonely, and we feel like it's just us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never just us. It's never just us. Whenever you feel that, think that in every house you can cover, when you look outside, there's a person maybe feeling exactly the way you do. And maybe that was not today, but maybe that was yesterday, and for sure it's going to be tomorrow. You are not alone, and it's natural. Now that feels really bad. You are at the lowest of your lowest, but it's a
Yeah.
blessing at the same time.
Right.
Because in that moment, you are given the choice to change. And why is that a blessing? It hurts a lot, but it's the blessing that in that hurt, you feel like you have nothing else to lose. And
Mm.
that's when you actually are able to make the choice to change.
Right. Right. When you hit rock bottom.
Yes, because before, as long as you have at least this much to hang on to, you're not going to change. You're not going to trade it, because that tiny bit, even if it's like infinite misery to you, it's something you know. It's something that gives you comfort, because it's something that you've lived through, and you know that you'll survive it. Although it's not a thriving, it's just surviving. But it's something that you know you can survive, and you don't want to trade that for something you don't know.
Right.
So at that moment, when you feel you have nothing to lose, that's the graceful moment of change.
Wow.
And
Powerful story.
I think everybody, like I wish everybody could, go back and identify that moment for themselves, because it happens for everybody. And we are all special in our own way. For me, it happened at that point, and I had the clarity to pinpoint it's there. But we all have the chance, and not only once. We are given the chance over and over again. And at the bottom of that pain, it's the beauty of the freedom from it.
Mm-hmm.
So it all started with that moment of revelation, or if you want, aha, if it's revelation is too strong for you. But it's a process, because the point is, like back then, I realized that it's not about anything else outside. It's inside, and nobody can make me feel anything.
Right.
Things happen, but as long
Right.
as other people next to me feel differently, that only makes it about us, not about whatever happened, right?
Right.
And now I want to go back to a joke that Wayne Dyer said many times, and I love it. It's so relevant, about the key. So he says, here is this guy losing his key, and he's searching for the key. He cannot find his key, and he's searching in front of the house. He's searching again, and at some point, the neighbor comes, and the neighbor says, okay, what are you doing? You feel agitated, and what's going on with you? Well, I lost my key. Okay, that's okay. Let me help. And they search together, and they look for the key under the bushes, behind the house, like everywhere. After an hour, the neighbor goes, okay, but where did you lose your key? And the guy says, well, I lost it inside, but look what a beautiful light we have outside, so I prefer to search for it here. Exactly. And the thing is that we don't see this is what we do in our lives. We look for solutions outside, but the problem is inside.
Mm.
My
That's
problem,
good.
the key was inside. Nobody could make me feel like I was feeling it. Nobody could make me feel it was my history, my choice, my, build up to get to that
Right.
feeling. My key was inside. Like, there's no point to blame, that guy, they told you whatever, relationships. No, your husband or your kids or the neighbor or, the market or whatever, bad luck came upon you. It's not the point, because those happen anyways, and you feel the way you feel because you're you.
Yeah.
So for me, that was the huge shift. But the thing is that it's a process, and from that point on, I only understood that every second is potential for a choice for me to make.
Well,
And
I'm
I
curious, how did all this make you a resilient woman?
resilient is in the fact that, the moment you do not depend on what's going outside,
Mm,
that's empowerment. The
right.
moment you wait for everything outside to change for you, you delegate your power. You're a victim of life. The moment you understand that you have that power, you don't need anything else. You're
Mm,
not in a reactive mode. That's when you take your power back.
good, good. So, what tools did you use to overcome your adversity, such as learning new languages and being in new countries and even dealing with the socialism?
Yeah, it's and discrimination, and there's a lot more, but the point is not to take it personally. That's, I think, my first recommendation for anybody. Look in everything a way to flip the situation and understand how that is useful for you.
Hmm.
I think this is the best thing that I can say as a tool. Um, and I'm gonna give you an example. Let's say relationships, because they make up our life, right? Um, it can be a conflict, and you say, "Look what he or she did to me."
Right,
About the same thing, you can say, "What is this trying to tell me about myself?"
right.
People in our life, they happen for a reason. God or whoever is up there, or orchestrated all this, put them in our path for a reason. We cannot just ignore it. So the moment you ask, okay, maybe it's something really like an injustice, that happened
Hmm.
to you, and there's no question about it. It's not just what happened. But then you think, yeah, I feel this way, but what is this trying to tell me about myself? What is it that I could use in this? What's the
Hmm.
message for
Hmm.
me?
Yeah,
What happens right away is that it relaxes the tension between the two entities, like you and whatever else or whoever else is out there, because it's not about the person. So that person is like, doesn't even exist, because it's all about the message. And then with that tension is the emotion, the negative emotion that you would invest in reacting to the person.
hmm,
You don't need that. You save. So the moment you don't, spend your energy to react to something that's not going to take you anywhere, obviously, that energy now is up for you to use to get your lesson. So now you don't have that, negative block, because you don't have to, fight anybody right here. And then you have energy too. So it's a double benefit right there. And the answer might not come right away, but you're investing, you planted the seed, you ask the question. The answer is going to come for sure, especially if you stay open. When you're negative and you fight back, you're a closed wall. Nothing is going to get
right,
you. Even if the
right,
answer is there, you're not there to receive it.
right. So, tell me a little bit about what you do for women. What's your work?
My work is, showing women that they have options. Many times, as women, especially, we feel like we're stuck in a situation. And it's because, we are wives and we are this and we have to do this and that, and there's no room for us to be us. And what I do, I work with women to, to produce that shift of seeing options where they see they're stuck, to feel the option is basically, that's what I'm telling you, to cut all this fight against what's outside, look inside and read all the answers. Everything is there.
Mm,
We are given everything we need. It's just that we need to make ourselves available.
Right.
This is the first thing that I do, and I find that, we have so much power and so much drive as women, and we can do so much. And also, I find, in the world today, we are needed more than any other time in history, because we know all these male values as competition were and all that stuff. We see exactly where it all, ended up, not ended, but, we're there. And we need a lot more of the feminine values. And here I'm not talking about feminism. I'm talking about feminine values. Us as women, we have a different view of the world. We are more about cooperation. We are more about soft skills. And this is what is needed today. And for
Hmm.
that, what I do, I support women do stuff, to start up businesses, um, with soul.
Hmm.
And I teach them, what are the pitfalls, because I've been there, unfortunately, and I cried too many times not to share that, like save the tears. So I'm gonna tell you how to do it, and how to bring to the world what is so needed today. So there are two things that I do. I work with their like mindset to show solutions where they feel they're stuck, and it could be in relationships or it could be in their career. And I also help them to do the first 100 days of a business that they want to start. Don't cry, and maximize your potential to be a success. And that is a twofold,
Yes.
plan, because it's business.
Yes.
Like I said, I have an MBA, so I that part I know I do, but it's also what women need inside, what they need to know, how they need to be prepared for failure, how to understand it,
Mm-hmm.
how to prepare for the morning that they feel like they don't want to do it anymore, how to understand it, how to get over it,
Right.
how to plan for all those moments, and how to fill their days, how to make sure that in their schedule there's room for themselves. And here I'm not talking spa, I'm talking about who you are, and everybody's different. And I know I work with women to know themselves exactly how they are, to accept themselves how they are, to love them how they are, and to to be able to offer others what they have to offer, because we have so much to give, and it's really our time.
That sounds like wonderful work. I really appreciate. Where can we find you online?
Well, you can find me on my website. It's www.irinabuse.com, IRINABUSE.com, and you can book me anytime. It's gonna be a pleasure. I really look forward to have women on the line who are ready to like change the world. We are together in this.
Yes, yes, that's great. Well, thank you
All
so
right.
much for your time today. Again, this is Rebecca Sutton with the Resilient Women Club. You can find me online at beccasutton.com. And we have Irina Buse here, and we just want to thank her and say, have a great day, and
Thank you so
find
much,
her
everybody. Thank
online.
you, Rebecca.
You're
It was
welcome. Bye bye.
Bye.